call the meeting to order and proceed with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Has everyone had an opportunity to look at the minutes for last meeting?
I'll move to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
Mark? No.
You can hand me a pen.
Hand you what?
There.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second.
Been moved and second. Any discussion? All in favor? Say
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Mail. Has anyone else received any mail? I see the annual holiday party mail for the highway garage that we have received an invitation for. Did everyone receive a copy of the letter from Dave Caldwell, the Fayette County Soil and Water Conservation District? Copy of the letter in each box.
About the building up there?
About the building,
Yes.
the possibility of using the building.
Oh, yes.
This has been something that's been discussed in the past several meetings and as a part of the budget hearings, a way to save some money. I think the commissioners are working on that project. The commissioners are working on a project, maybe moving some offices. And then I had a second piece of mail that I delivered from Cindy Nichols for the Cemetery Commission. I thank each of you. And I apologize. This was an addenda to the report from that she turned in before last meeting. She asked me to print it out, and I did, but I walked off, left it on the printer. So this is an addendum to that report. If everyone would file it with your cemetery report for the year. Debbie, you know of any other mail?
No.
Okay, then we can move on to County Attorney. Chris?
I don't have anything to report right now, unless there's any questions. Which
I have a
can
question
come up
for you.
at. Okay.
Last month I asked you about the surveyor, Mr. Govan, leaving and what could and couldn't be removed from the office. Have you looked into that to find out what's being done for that, or maybe Commissioner Barker could report to that? Or
I mean, we have an inventory list of everything that belongs to the surveyor's office, and when he gets done, we can take an inventory and make sure it's all there. I would not anticipate it should go and take it and we didn't belong to it.
well, I was more concerned about the files of survey work that's been done, because I don't know if we know what was done under, his business and what was done under the county umbrella. In my opinion, anything that was done in that office under county work with county equipment should remain there. So that was my concern, to protect the citizens of the county that have had survey work done in the past. What are we doing to?
Well, if the citizens that had it done, it would be probably Jerry's personal work. I don't know how.
You see what I'm saying? If it's done in that office, it's.
Martin, really, if it was done in that office, that means he was using county equipment. If he was doing it personally, it should have been done in his home.
Right.
Home office, not in that office.
Should have, and what was, I don't know, and there's no need to get into that one, I'm saying, but what is county stuff as far as the equipment and the furniture and stuff, there's an inventory, so we will know whether it's there or not, and I would anticipate that Jerry would take it. As far as the files.
That's my major concern.
As far as the files, whether they're personal or counties, if you went down, I don't know, you could tell which was which.
I mean, the only way to really be able to tell us if somebody did a extensive audit, was able to track which was which. As far as him taking down, I mean, we can't really like have a police officer go in
No,
there.
I'm not saying a
I-
police
I'm just-
officer,
there's-
that's
It's
extreme.
unfortunate, I mean, taking the inventory is one way to make sure that at least county property stays, but as far as what he did, I don't, besides
So it
an
needs,
independent group wanting to audit him for, I mean, if he was doing business for himself under the guise of the county, that could, but, I mean, I don't know, that would be initiated by maybe a state board of,
so in the 2 months that we've known about this, we've done nothing to protect ourselves, we've done nothing to protect the county. So basically, those files can all walk out of the office and we've got no repercussion, we got nothing to protect ourselves, is what I'm hearing, which to me is unacceptable. We should have been doing something to protect those files. If they've been done in that office, the work was done in that office, whether it was under Jerry Goldman Enterprises or whatever his company's name is, those files belong to the county, period. They don't belong to him, even though he may have done the work and he may have gotten paid for it. It was done on county equipment, it was done on county time, it was done on county resources. And we've done nothing to protect ourselves. So the equipment is a minor thing. I don't think that he's gonna take it either, but I'm just saying, and I'm not saying that we need to strong arm him and have a police officer present, that's not what I'm implying. I'm saying that we should have had copies, or we should have some way to note what is there. Because it's gonna come up in the future, when somebody wants records of work that's been done, they're not gonna be able to get it.
Well, part of the problem is Jerry was noted as being taking stuff out before the last meeting. Well, he probably already had everything
thought,
out.
I don't know.
He wanted out prior to that, so there probably is no way we can police that, but.
No, and I think that's extreme. You know what I'm saying? Okay.
I just don't know what measure we could be taking.
Well, any measure, when an employee is let go from an employer, there's somebody there from HR, there's somebody there to monitor what's being taken.
That's true.
That you don't pop a zip drive in and start downloading files and taking them. You don't start removing material that is deemed the employer's. That's intellectual property of the owner. In this case, the employer being the county. And if there's hard copies, it's even more difficult to go back and get that information, because I'm sure that's what it was. A lot of hard copy, a lot of paper documentation. So I just think we've just set ourselves up to have some problems here in the near future.
I mean, who oversees him directly? Because
Well, that's why I asked if we should have had a conversation with the prosecutor from
Yeah.
Rush County to
doesn't
protect
return,
ourselves.
doesn't return my phone calls, and he just says, I mean, they made a determination not to indict him or have a grand jury, and he's to leave. I mean, to protect files.
And I'm in no way implying that Mr.
No,
Grogan is
you just
dishonest.
are-
I'm not implying that. And I know he's a nice gentleman, but I'm just saying we've done nothing to protect ourselves. And I think it's going to come back and bite us in the rear end.
Would it be appropriate to put together, a document and along with an inventory, some future agreement for questions that come up? Like you say, if a survey was done as a county document and no record be found, would it be appropriate to, pick up the phone and ask, could you have that document? Is it appropriate to?
Appropriate, but he's no longer under the
you could
employee.
ask.
No longer an obligation, but
But he won't be. Right, that's what Shirley's referring to, is once he's gone.
yes.
If a question arises and somebody says, hey, do you have a plot map for this piece of property? Well, Jerry did that under his business. You gotta go to Jerry to get it. Copy of it. That's what my concern is. We don't have access to any of those files any longer. And at this point, it's most likely a moot point. It's not gonna matter anymore because you don't have enough time to get that information. I don't think. And again, I'm not implying that he's dishonest or he's taken anything. It was brought, I saw him taking some stuff out the other day. It could have been his lunch, I don't know. It just made me think that what have we done as a county to protect ourselves. It sounds like nothing.
Yeah, I mean, unless you wanted to, I mean, just speaking, I'll file some sort of, I just, like, there's not really any steps you could take besides, you know, I mean, demanding that he turn over all work product, but how do you?
You don't know.
He could have just, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know what the best course of avenue would be to ensure.
Best course of action would have been to go in there as soon as we found this out and figure out what files are there and protect those files.
Well, assuming
It's
that,
too late now.
that didn't happen.
No, it didn't sound like it.
But, you know, again, in the county's best interest and in Jerry Govin's best interest to cooperate on any questions that would come along that line. But I do think it would be prudent for us to take that inventory. I'm not certain who the person would be to take that inventory, but I think.
Well, it sounds like it's already been done. It's already been done, right?
The auditor's office has an inventory of
Yeah.
the equipment and furniture that belongs in every.
And again, that's not my major concern. My concern is
understand.
more the work that's been done. Because I don't think he's gonna be taking the desk and stuff like that. I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about the files that were created for the citizens of the county. That he can say, well, this is work that I did under my entity, my name, and we have no way to protect them. Okay, I was just following up.
Okay. Any other comments on that? Debbie, would you have the opportunity to go with me to review that inventory with Jerry before the end of the year? I mean, that's one piece that we could go. Okay. All right. We'll find a time that'll work for you and Jerry and move on. Anything else for Chris? Move on to reports. Commissioner's representative, Barton.
The major thing that the commissioners have worked on is insurance. We just got that finalized today. Debbie and I spent probably the last 2 weeks solid of trying to find an insurance policy that would come in under the cost or at the cost that the council appropriated. We was told by the insurance we did have to expect a 28% raise, so we put the insurance out for bid, and we had 4 or 5 different concerns bring proposals in. We wound up offering, considering 2 plans with Anthem. One is a full service plan like you have now, and the other is a health savings account. To get it down into the budget, we had to go up with a higher deductible. Instead of the $250 for the single, we're going to a $500, and then the health savings account, that winds up with a $1,500 deductible for single family and $3,000 for family, which is a big increase. So we decided we still had a little money left over to get it within budget. So we decided to put $1,000 in the single plan and $1,500 in the family plan for the employees' health savings account to get them started off.
If they select the
If they
health savings
select the
account.
health savings plan. We know that probably our income's not going to go up. The insurance is probably going to go up next year. It ever does. It always does. So that very well might mean that next year the health savings plan is the only thing you can afford. So, and one problem we have, which needs to be addressed tonight, the insurance we have now, we pay for in the current month. the new policy, we have to pay the first month's premium before it starts, which means we have 2 months' premium this year. So money needs to be transferred. And Debbie has it figured out, I think, where we could get it out of the commissioner's budget.
I think I gave everybody, put in everybody's box a copy, and that would be to do transfers within the commissioner's budget in order to pay the first month's, because we'll in essence be paying 13 months worth of premiums in 2013. And we tried to get them to waive that and wait until January, 2nd or something, January 2nd in order to pay them, which
Then they just
we don't
redid
even
that.
typically pay claims until the second commissioners meeting in January. But they want that at the time it's signed, which I can fully understand. And they were allowing us to go as if making the assumption, since we haven't signed anyone up yet, that everybody would go with the lower priced HSA plan. And I did make copies of this for you. If anybody wants to see, and I laid out what our current plan is, what the traditional $500, $1,500 deductible plan is with Anthem, and then what their health savings account plan is. So if everyone went with the health savings account, it would be a cost savings to overall of about, well, just to the county alone, it would be a cost savings of $166,000. But we discussed that just due to how that health savings account operates, and we were just afraid it would call for some employees to take too much of their cash out of pocket before they, to reach that deductible, say in the first few months, and we thought that would impact the employees too much, or I thought it would anyway, and the commissioners agreed to offer the 2 plans. The other thing is, which we did find out, that you cannot offer a health savings account to anyone. IRS will not allow you to offer a health savings account to anybody over 65. And we do have some employees on the county health insurance that are in that age category. So we had to offer something that would, that everybody could have a shot at. So I have this if you're interested. I also brought a copy of all of the comparisons for all the different plans that we were presented. We had, of the ones that brought us, we got a renewal from Nippon at our current plan, which was a 22.9% increase. And then a renewal for an alternate plan, which is real similar to what we picked up with Anthem, that was a 19.3% increase. So Anthem's similar plan was a 4.97% increase. So, holding the line at that, I was pleased with that, because I think we'll have enough money to pay it. The only thing you don't know is who's going to drop off the plan. You might have somebody that has employee only, and then somebody that has a family plan, take that, and then
But that's a gamble you take every year.
But that's a gamble you take every
They
year.
move in and out.
Yeah, and so we'll be doing open enrollment.
Well, let's pass those out when we get
And
down to
we also
transfer request.
We also had self-funding plans offered to us, and we thought about that, which was getting down in the same price range we are. But at the end of the year, if you're self-funding, you could be holding the bag for some claims that hadn't been paid and wouldn't have the money to pay them. We didn't figure that, well, it means we don't have the money, we just couldn't gamble on it. So we feel like this is the best bet we could get. We are still working on being able to offer the 65 and over a stipend or something so they can buy supplement insurance and get off of ours. If we could get that done, we could save $8,000 to $9,000 a person. But you've got to treat everybody the same, so figuring out how to do that, we haven't got that done yet. We've got more telling us why we can't do it than anybody telling us we can. So that's where we are in the insurance.
Okay.
We just need a little bit of money transferred this evening and everybody will have insurance.
Well, I know that you and Debbie have been working, went back in the budget when we were worried about what the
See, one problem
repercussions
that,
would be.
the reason we're so late to getting it done, I asked for a kind of an estimate in August when you were doing the budget, so we'd have somewhere to go. Then normally you get your new premiums 60 days ahead of time. The insurance company we had elected not to give us the premium on what their insurance would be. In fact, we didn't get them until last Monday, after everybody else had put in their proposal.
You see, I think it's a sales ploy that
Well, it's a
they
sales
wait till it's
ploy. I
too
mean,
late and then
people
you-
sell insurance to make money, and I understand that, but it made it kind of difficult for us to know what we could do and what we should do when you didn't know what it was going to cost.
Right.
You know. Okay, that about takes care of the insurance. The highway garage, we are trying to get that thing going. We've got a company hired to do the soil borings down there. We're doing on the highway department land and down there on the ground in front of it to see which place would be the best to build, if we can build on either one. Then if they turn out that the ground in front is the best place to do it, then we'll go ahead with our negotiation with that owner to see about buying that ground. As far as the architect, we have agreed on who we're going to use. We haven't signed a contract with him yet because if neither one of those, if we can't build on either one of those places, I don't want to have another bill slip us in the face where we're not going to get any benefit from it.
Have they taken the soil borings yet, or are
The
they
soil
close to
borings are
giving
going to
you
be taken next Tuesday,
next Tuesday?
and we're supposed to have the results 24 to 36 hours after they take them. So by our next commissioners meeting, we'll know where we should look at to start building the building. The only other major thing we have to get at for along with this ADA compliance, we've had two proposals on doing that study for us. They're way apart on what the cost is, and we've got to study out what the difference is they're offering. One's $37,000 and one is $73,000. And then when we get that figured out, then you've got to figure out where we're going to get the money, I guess. So that's about what the commissioners have been. Oh, we did have a little controversy, if you might call that, this morning. The food bank program that's over in the jail. The elevator has gotten broken twice within the last month at a cost of better than $3,000 each time to do it. So we have found the Salvation Army has agreed to let them, for them to come over there where they feed people of an evening.
Large kitchen.
Large kitchen.
Yeah.
Where the large kitchen is. They're moving the large kitchen over into the Salvation Army building, I understand. The Salvation Army does this same program Tuesdays and Thursdays. The program that we have in the courthouse is Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. It would fit right in there. They've agreed to do that with the stipulation being it's going to be on their property that they're going to run it. And we had the people in this morning, and they don't know whether they want that to happen or not. But it's getting to the place we just can't afford to keep fixing an elevator. I don't know that they broke it. They say they didn't, but if there's nobody, whoever's breaking it, we can't afford to do that every month. So we're trying to get that problem resolved, and we're going to meet on that our first meeting in January and make a decision.
Are they overloading the elevator with weight?
Something is. I can't say who, but it's, there's about a 3/4 inch bolt that was just broke right in two. And they tell me now that the the shaft is not straight in it, so it might cost more than the $3,000 this time to fix it. But whoever's breaking or whatever the problem is, we've got to get, we just can't stand the expenses every month. Anybody got any questions?
Who's doing the soil boring?
Patriot.
Patriot?
Uh-huh.
What was their charge?
$46.50, I believe, 46 something, I think it's 40.
10 borings or...
Yeah, and that's the borings, that's the cost for both pieces of ground. We had two different companies quote that, and they're both within nickels of each other.
Okay.
So they're supposed to do them next Tuesday, and like they say, they said within 24 or 36 hours they'll have the information back. Okay. Okay.
Thank you, Barton. Committee reports. Chris and I met with some preliminary guidelines to start putting together what we have to add to the ordinance, the salaried ordinance for the incentive program for 2014. There's still much to do. I think he's been waiting for information from the State Board of Accounts as to kind of a format to follow along. But in progress,
Yes, that's correct.
work in progress. Moving on to item number C, Economic Development Report. Dr. Hodges.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. I do have a lot of good news to share with you this evening. I will preface my remarks by saying Economic Development Group is not primarily responsible for everything that I'm going to talk to you about this evening, but there's a lot of exciting things happening in and around Connersville and Fayette County. Some new construction and new opportunities that are out there. Recently, Fayette Regional just opened up the Jerry Psych Ward. That was about a $2.5 million renovation there, bringing in 23 new jobs to that facility. The Tractor Supply is open and selling goods. I was in there the other day and purchased some things, and that seems to be going well there in the Whitewater Trade Center. We're hopeful that as we have a new store moving in there, that might motivate some other folks to move into some of those storefronts that are vacant there. I've talked to the owner of that property, and he's hopeful as well. He is talking to some different businesses, hoping to attract them, and I told him that we would do what we could to try to help him market that area. The Union Savings and Loan Branch really adds a lot to 30th Street up there, and just to make sure that I don't slight any of the bank's. First Merchants has done some remodeling on their facility as well. So there's some things happening that I think that we can be excited about. Wayzata, I think you're very familiar with what's happening up there. If you've driven by that property, you can see there's a lot of work being done on that building, both inside and outside. They did conduct a successful job fair, I think, in October, and we're very hopeful that we'll see some product moving out of that building after the first of the year, maybe as soon as February. That's speculation on my part, not the official word from the Wayzata folks. Some projects that are in the works. We have a project that we call Project Greenfish that we're working with a company to locate on the 17 acres north of the city. The attorneys right now are working on finalizing the sales agreement. The projection there is about 30 jobs right away, and the growth projection over 5 years would be about 100 jobs. So it's just a matter of working out the sales agreement for them, and we would expect to see some construction going on that property sometime after the weather breaks in the spring. There's new construction going on at the Connersville Commons. I was up there yesterday, and I did see some beams jumping up out of the ground, so hopefully very soon we'll see 2 new buildings up there housing. I believe that's going to house Goodwill and Dollar Tree. I had to make sure I got the right word with Dollar Tree. And you can see the Scripture building has been torn down, the hole has been filled in, and there's some work going on, and hopefully very soon we'll see a new Hardee's opening up on that lot. Some other things that we're involved with, we're working with a local business owner to purchase a vacant building, and he plans to have a business opening in that soon after we can get that transaction completed. We're working with a local manufacturer to find some storage needs that they have. I think we have that taken care of for them, but we're also working with them trying to find some storage space for some trailers that they need to have in a secure area. Right now we're working with a firm out of Texas. They plan to transport approximately 90 train cars of product through this area. They would like to have an area where they could offload those, and load those onto semi-trailers, and then haul that off to a construction site. We have a meeting set up for December the 10th. We have at least two locations that seem to have some interest to them. It's a temporary situation in that they'll start about March, and it's a 6-month project, but there again, that's something that I think would be interesting and exciting for us to have going on. We're working with a business in the industrial park, excuse me, on a lease transfer to make sure that we can keep the business there in that industrial park. There are some journals dealing with economic development, and there was a recent article in one of those that talked about leads across the state are down, kind of at an all-time low, and I think there was some speculation among some folks that since the old Visteon building has been sold, we're not getting any more leads. I just think that's kind of across the state, that's really the way it is. But we have received 5 new leads since October. I'll give you as much detail as you want, but the names that go along with them are Project Action, Project Chrome, Project JC, Project Tellus One, and Project Elwood. We did respond for 3 of those. 2 of those we couldn't accommodate them, but we did make submissions on 3. I think since you last had an official report from EDG, there have been a lot of things that have happened. We've had a complete reorganization of the board. We've downsized to about 13 voting members. The interesting thing about that are most of the architects of that plan that put that all together left before we got reorganized. So we've been putting their plan into place without their wise counsel. So that's been interesting. One of the things that I've tried to do as president is to facilitate some communication between board meetings with board members, and I do send out periodic updates to kind of let them know what's going on, so when we get to a meeting we can get in to take action and talk about topics rather than just learn about those for the first time. We are currently looking for a director. Why is that important? Well, leadership is critical. Having someone that can dedicate the time solely to economic development, I think, is a critical piece to us that's missing. We did lose out on at least 1 grant opportunity because having a director was an important component of that grant requirement. I was going through some news articles from the community I used to live in, and I saw a name that I recognized, a gentleman that used to be president of the school board up there. I knew he had changed jobs. I didn't realize he had gotten into economic development. He's economic development director in a county up in northeast Indiana, and I had a long talk with him today. It was really interesting that I explained to him where Fayette County is and some of the challenges that we're facing, and he indicated that's really kind of what was going on there. He started out, he was a rookie, really did not have much experience in economic development, but the things that they're doing up there are really pretty impressive. You know, he asked where our funding comes from, and we're very dependent upon you folks in the city council right now, and he said that's the way it was, but they've been able to work with some other partnerships, and while they still rely heavily on edit money, they do have some other partners, but listening to him talk, that's his full-time job. That's what he does, and he's able to do some things that would really be kind of exciting for us if we could get the right person in here to do that. I want to share with you something that was in the News Examiner a few weeks ago. It's a quote from Trevor Lane, who works for the Indiana Economic Development Corporation, I think is the title. He was talking to some folks in Franklin County about what they could do to help promote economic development there. And the paper says another suggestion that he gave was hiring a full-time director in order to put 100% effort behind economic development in the county. I would really encourage you to see how you could possibly fund a full-time director, at least a director that can focus on economic development. You really got to commit to it. I don't work with any part-time economic development folks. I'd encourage you to try to find the funding some sort of way so that we have a main contact. And so I think we can see how other counties are moving forward when they have an economic development director. We can see that the state is placing a high value on that, and I think that's an important thing for us to continue to pursue. We formed a committee to visit some sites where there are some spec buildings. There's been some conversation that that's really something that we ought to be looking at. So we've gone out and viewed some of those. I'm concerned whether or not we can do both, do a director and purchase a spec building. There are some people on the board that feel that we can do that. We have a meeting coming up on the 12th, and there's going to be a presentation at that point in time to talk about some possibilities with that. We've talked to a site consultant who will be meeting with the board in January to help us better understand how to market ourselves. We're looking to update and upgrade our website. We are working with some surrounding communities in an effort to form a regional economic development district. There was a district called EIDD several years ago. We withdrew from that. They ran into some challenges, and they are in the process of being totally dissolved. But to be able to be eligible for EDA funding, we have to be part of a regional group. And so we have been taking part in some conversations with them, trying to find out what kind of an organization makes sense for all of the counties and communities involved. Question I have for you, have you been receiving copies of our financial reports? We've had some conversation about what can be distributed, what can't be distributed, and I didn't know if you were getting copies of that. If not, if you would like those. The most current one that I have, because we don't typically meet in November, would be the September financial. But if that's something that you would like to see, you do contribute a considerable amount of money to the Economic Development Group, and I have no problem with you taking a look to see where we're at. So if that's something you don't have, I can work with Shirley and make sure that that gets distributed. She is your representative on that, and she can do that. The last thing that I'll talk about, and then I'll be happy to entertain any questions you might have, that there is a concern about funding. At one point in time, I understand that the county used to fund as much as $110,000. I think when I became involved, it was more at the $90,000 level. This year, in the last couple of years, it's been at $60,000. I've been informed, not officially, but there's a good chance that we'll not receive any funding from the county. I hope that you can see that through some of the things that I've talked about this evening, that there are some things happening. I think that's always been one of the criticisms. What's going on? What's happening here? There are some things happening. I'd like to be able to continue to build on that momentum. Funding is absolutely critical to do that, and I just ask that you give consideration to funding this important endeavor of economic development here in Fayette County. So with that, I will be happy to entertain any questions that you might have. I have some folks with me this evening. I'd be more than happy to answer those while I just stand here and smile at you.
I got a question. If
Yes, sir.
I misunderstood you, maybe I did, but you said the gentleman that worked in the county, or used to be,
Yes.
up in northeastern Indiana.
Yes.
He did a different job, and now he's done it.
Correct. When he was on the school board, he worked for REMC, and then he went to work for a community foundation, and I didn't realize he had gone to work for economic development.
Okay, so basically he had no knowledge of economic, being a director when he took that job, it sounds like.
That's what it sounds like.
Okay. Then my opinion is, my question is, why in this county do we feel like we have to go outside and find somebody with experience? Because it sounds like they've implemented a bunch of plans up there that have been successful.
And he was from outside that county. He didn't.
Well,
he wasn't from.
but he wasn't involved in economic development, so he was inexperienced in that. So why do we think we got to get somebody, pay money, big money, to go get somebody that's experienced?
Well, I don't know about the big money.
Because I think there's local people that have not been in economic development, but can, I think, have the potential to be a good director.
And we have advertised and asked for applications, and I don't know that we've discouraged people from applying for that. We did have what I've called a failed search. People did review all the applications that came through, looked at qualifications, talked to a number of people about what they could bring to the table. We interviewed 2 finalists as a full board, and we just did not feel that either one of them could move economic development further than where we're already at. They were not a good fit.
How many total applications did you get?
I want to say it was 12, but that's just really relying on my memory. Does that sound right?
I think we got like 14 total.
14?
I think 14 was the number that I remembered.
Okay,
How
I
many
stand
local?
corrected.
How many local?
Probably out of the 14, there was 4 local.
I thought.
4. Okay.
Dr. Hodges, I'd like to take advantage. I have not distributed, and perhaps that was an error on my part for the financials. I think we have discussed figures off and on, what balances and what have you. But we kept thinking that we're going to have a financial report at the council meeting, and that would include that information. So I would ask that perhaps for the end of the year, you might submit, the end of the year.
And that wasn't meant to be a shot at anybody. Some councils have more interest in those than others, and if those have been questions that have been raised, didn't want to hide anything from you, but if that wasn't a burning, passionate question, then I didn't want to overburden you with things that you didn't care to see.
Do you have quarterly reports or monthly?
Monthly,
Monthly.
and then we do have an annual audit.
One thing to clarify on the director pay, from what I've heard, you can correct me if I'm wrong, is basically if you found somebody that was qualified, that had all the qualifications, they've been doing this for X amount of years, that they would probably fit at a different pay scale than the person maybe that you thought was qualified but didn't have all the experience, like the gentleman you referred to in Northeast Indiana who had no background. Just because, we'll just use a figure, if you say 80,000, I have no idea what your figure is. Let's just say a figure of 80,000 for a director that's very well qualified. That person would probably fit that pay billet versus the person who is like the Northeast Indiana who may not meet that $80,000 expectation, would probably be less, if I'm making sense.
You're making sense, and we did not publish a specific dollar amount that I recall.
Because any position I've ever applied for is based upon your experience.
Correct. The other thing and we did have some folks work on that, and I apologize, I don't recall exactly how all of that fit together, but one of the things we did ask them to do was to structure a pay schedule that had some incentives in it. And incentives weren't necessarily tied just to jobs. There are other things that are part of that position, but so that the person had the opportunity to earn more, but there were some expectations that they do some things in addition to that. The $80,000 figure I've heard thrown around a lot, but I don't know that was a number that we had in our proposals. I'm not exactly sure where it came from. I'm not saying that's the wrong number, it's high or low, but others have used that figure a lot. I did talk to Bill Kanya, who used to be Economic Development Director here. He's at Wabash, and I did have, several months ago, I had a long conversation with him. And really the motivation of talking to both those gentlemen was trying to find out if they had people or they knew people who were wanting to get really involved in this business, maybe some up-and-comers, some people that they thought would help move us along. That was really my primary motivation. And when I talked to Bill about the challenges that were here, is it Bill? When I talked to Bill about the challenges that we had here in attracting people, and he said that that pay would be a critical piece. But I didn't share that with the committee to have them adjust their figures. One of the challenges that I see, and it makes it difficult for me to go out and recruit somebody, is the instability in our revenue stream at this point in time. I've relocated because of my job, and I know the challenges of selling real estate in this market is getting better, and to relocate and be here. And to do that, there needs to be, in my opinion, some measure of sustainability in the position. And when we look at the challenges that we've had with City Council getting funding for this year, and then the possibility of receiving no funding from County Council next year, which also might mean no funding from City Council next year as well. you know, it makes it really hard for me to go talk to a person and say, we really want you to come, and how's your revenue stream looking? Well, it's not looking very good. So those are just some challenges, some opportunities for growth, things we need to work together to try to find a resolution. Other questions? Thank you.
Judge. Next item, not on here, so I want to say 5A, unfinished business. Mike, you brought up that there was some perhaps confusion or misunderstanding on the part of the vote that we, or the motion that was made the last meeting. Do you want to speak to that and where we want to go from here?
Yeah, last month I brought forth a motion on behalf of the highway department. The savings that they were helping the county attain by switching to a different insurance company, they wanted that to see that as basically a pay increase to them, and that we were basically agreeing to about 24 cents an hour pay increase, $500 for all county employees for this year. And they're looking at basically with divvying it up their savings, just a little over $500 per employee, so I think it came out like 25 cents in addition to that. And I brought forth a motion, and of course it died because there was no second. I did receive a call from Mike Strack, from the union representative for the highway department, asking if there was any resolution to this. And in my opinion, it really wasn't resolved because as a council we didn't vote yay or we vote nay on it. And I think we should put it to rest so that they understand what we're doing, because they really don't know. And I'm in agreement that I don't think we really know where it stands. And I think we just need to put it to rest. And I've made my position known that I don't agree with it. I don't agree that every time a county department saves money that they come to the council and say, hey, we saved, you know, $50,000 this year, we would like to see that in a pay raise. There's no benefit to the county then, because we're just, any savings that we would see as a county, and we're trying to find everything we can for savings, which we can then maybe at a later time turn that into pay raises for the employees and get them back where they really need to be as far as in comparison to other counties. I just don't agree with the fact that because you save some money, I'm appreciative of that fact. I'm appreciative of the legwork that you've done to save the money, but I don't think that we should turn around and turn in say, here you go as a pay raise. So I'd like to put forth a motion again to bring that motion forward, and I would really like to see somebody second it and then just vote yay or nay as to where this stands. And if anybody has questions on kind of what I'm talking about, you know, if you recall from last month's meeting.
Well, I kind of disagree. I think by not getting a second, I think we pretty much made our statement. We don't agree to give them a salary increase.
Well, we haven't said yes and we haven't said no.
Pardon?
We haven't said yes and we haven't said no. It just died.
But by dying, our motion means that nobody was in favor of it, giving them an increase. That's the way I feel.
I mean, I just think it doesn't hurt to just say second it and vote it down then, if that's what you're saying, or vote however your conscience dictates that you vote. I mean, I don't agree with it, but I don't want to taint, you know, what they're trying to do with my opinion. And Chris, maybe you can clear that up. I mean, that's my opinion. I'm the new guy here, and I just think by letting it die that we really haven't put it to bed in either way.
You since it was brought to the table and never seconded, you
Right. I just think that if we're not for it, then just go on record and as a council member and vote no. If you're in favor, vote yes, and then just put it to rest.
I mean, you can attempt to bring the motion again and see if it's seconded and then take a vote.
I'm just trying to bring some closure to it so that when I talk with Mike again, that I can say, yeah, we voted on it, and this is what we, you know, 5 of us said no, 1 of us said yes. all of us said, no, it's dead, we're not in favor of it, which I think is where, I don't want to think for or speak for the other council members, but that's kind of what I'm gathering that we're at as a council, is just we're not in agreement with that.
I mean, I can't really comment as to policy, just if you, I mean, but you, if you want to bring it up for motion again, that would be the way to go about figuring that out.
Perhaps another possibility, that Debbie, you suggested this one time, a straw vote of the different members, a
I think we
non-binding.
had kind of, yeah, we done that at one time, but I don't know whether that would,
Would that,
I don't know, if we're gonna
I
vote
just
nay,
want to
I
make a
don't
motion,
know.
Mike, if that's what you do. It's just, like in area planning, I made a motion last week and it died basically because there was no second. But I'm going to bring it up next meeting again.
I mean, I can see their point, and I
Yeah.
kind of agree with them. So I'll just bring forth a motion again that the highway department has proposed that the savings that they would incur for health insurance for the year 2014, that they would get basically a 25-cent pay increase on top of the 24-cent pay increase that we've already agreed to as a council.
okay, it's been moved, as Mike indicated, that we consider a 25% pay increase from the savings generated by the insurance program of the highway. Is there a second?
Quick question, Madam President. And Mike, is this Mr. Strack, are they wanting a definite yes or no answer?
They're just wanting a yes or no answer. And by us not seconding it, not moving it, we're not giving them a yes or no answer. So I can see where they're coming from on this. So that's why I say I respectfully ask that somebody just second it so we can just kill it, or once and for all, or whatever.
Mike, by giving them this money, if we gave them this money, it wouldn't be fair to other offices, because
Right.
we got other offices here, there's only got about 2 employees, and there's not, a lot of these other offices, there's no way of cutting back to where they could get the money, get a
No,
pay
I-
raise. And the idea of cutting money back is helping the taxpayer, is, you know, is not giving pay raises.
And
I
that's,
mean, we gave a pay raise this year.
right, and that's why I think I was just saying, if we say no, we're saying that we're basically saying what you just said. We're not in agreement with that because it's not fair to the other departments, and that's my position. It's not fair to the other departments. If you say yes, then obviously you're in agreement that they should get this. And I think we're opening up a can of worms by doing that.
As far as Shirley said about taking a straw vote, I don't know Robert's Rules of Order inside and out, but my thought would be, why would you want to do that? To see how everybody's going to vote on a motion? I mean, I don't know.
Well, if there is no second, there won't be a vote.
There won't, yeah.
And we don't get
motion
the
dies
answer.
due to lack of a second.
So,
A straw vote has no
no value.
Meaning,
no.
no
value
value.
at all. I will say this, Mike, I understand their position and I understand yours. Truthfully, I can't support the concept. I couldn't support giving them what they want. But if it takes it to put this thing to rest, I'll second your motion.
And I think that they'll have their answer.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded that we apply the cost savings obtained from the insurance, the new insurance contract to the salaries of the highway department. Any further discussion? Could we have a roll call vote, please?
Read the motion again. I want to be,
100% clear?
yes.
Let's see where the motion is.
Don't ask me to repeat it.
Mike made a motion that the highway receive a 25-cent pay increase from the savings realized in the 2014 budget from the changes in their health insurance. And pay increase, that should say in addition to the 24-cent increase that was passed in the budget.
It's been moved and
Clear as
seconded.
mud?
Yes.
I know.
And roll call vote, please.
Councilman Strong,
No.
Councilman Winter,
No.
Councilman Wolf,
No, it's not fair to the other employees.
Councilman Plum,
No.
Councilman Nobby.
No.
Motion denied.
Thank you for putting this thing to rest now.
Okay.
Thank you. Now let's move on to new business. And item A,
Yeah, that's all the.
we're going to take that off the agenda.
Yeah.
That was, I
That got
believe,
carried over in.
carried over from
in-
last month's meeting. A second item, the resolution for the 2014 meeting dates. We have a resolution. Whereas the County of Fayette, through its Board of Fayette County Council, has determined that the Fayette County Council will meet on the first Tuesday of each month at 6:00 p.m. If a holiday falls on a scheduled meeting date, the council meeting will be rescheduled. The meeting will be held at the Fayette County Government Center in the Commissioners' Boardroom. Does hereby adopt this resolution on this third day of December. Do we have a motion to adopt?
I'll make that
Motion to
motion.
Second?
I'll second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this resolution setting the meetings for next year. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Item number C, the grant budgets. I think everyone received in their mailbox copies of, what, 5? The 5 different budgets that aren't a portion of the county general.
There are a few other grant budgets, but these are, that are just incidental. Sometimes we have them, sometimes we don't. When we get them, we set the appropriations as necessary per the grant agreement. But these are the ones, you know, the biggie is the Community Corrections Grant. The one says Project Income Grant. That really is not a grant. I've removed grant. That's always been titled that way. Where the Project Income money comes from is when people that are put into the program, they pay their fees to be in the program, and that's what we operate on. At one point, we had about a $900,000, almost $1 million cash balance in that, but that had accumulated over the whole years we've had the program, and that is what we have used to redo the H&K building for use as reporting, yeah, as a work release center. We do pay some salary out of that. When Michelle makes her budget and when she gets that approved, they also approve the use of the Project Income Fund. So even though it's collected here, we don't just say what it can be used for. That has to be approved through the Department of Corrections, who oversees the grant. And they do their budgets a little differently than we do ours. They lump all their salary items in together. When you approve the salary ordinance, their individual salaries will be detailed in that. You'll approve them that way. Local health maintenance grant, the salary in there is strictly for part-time nurses and help with shop programs and such. And victim assistance, that's just, that pays a half salary for, and the CASA out of county general pays the other. It's not really a half, but it's a percentage of the salary. And then for 2 employees that are also, you know, full-time employees, time divided between CASA and victim assistance, and then it also pays for a part-time person that does not work in the CASA program. And the other thing to remember, except for local health maintenance, probably in tobacco trust, all the rest of these are fiscal year grants. So community corrections grant actually started July 1st of 2013. Stop grant starts,
They're on a federal fiscal year. It
so
starts
they're
October.
July.
October.
October, yes.
September.
And that's the same with victims assistance.
Correct.
Usually, we have seen these along with the budget when we were overseeing the budget, but because this wasn't a part of the county general budget, this is our first opportunity to review this. And I've asked Debbie to give us this information. Where it has come into play is as we are trying to put together the final wording on the ordinance for the salaried ordinance. Again, their budget started back in July 1st. They have been affected by the Affordable Care Act, and they have in the community corrections 10 full-time and 13 part-time employees. And because of the concerns that have been addressed by many others, the school corporation, the hospital, the county, about the risk of exceeding a number of hours to be considered as a full-time employee, then we've asked the different departments to hold the part-time hours to 28 hours or fewer each week. But again, that has come up several times and has been addressed. Michelle has reported and asked for some help and relief with the commissioners so that she could do some creative scheduling, because there just have not been enough people to provide. They had a full-time employee off on leave, and they were trying to satisfy the hours. They have to man this community corrections 24/7, 365. There were not enough full-time people to man that, and they were bumping up against the hours ceiling. So trying to figure out how to keep the staff without going over the policy that we put into place. As a part of that, there was a discussion with Michelle, because she's now preparing and has to submit before the end of December her budget for 2015. And she is asked to meet with council or a special committee of council about the possibility of increasing the part-time salary, because with the current 28-hour ceiling, the most a person could earn would be $14,006.72. And there's a lot of competition. These people, the part-time employees, because they can't get enough hours, they're going and taking other jobs where they can get more hours. So she has asked. I indicated to Michelle we had a committee set up to review the different employee situations in the county, and I know you've not had an opportunity to meet, but I told Michelle that I would ask, is it possible, Russ is not here this evening, Jim and Mark, could we advertise a meeting and with Michelle for her to lay out her, position as far as specific examples where she's not been able to cover the hours. And she's losing an employee about every 2 weeks. And I know that's a similar situation that the 911 Terry Bennett has brought to us. And those are things, while we heard Terry Bennett in the budget hearings, we did not have an opportunity to hear from Michelle Dudley on the community corrections. So I told her that I would ask if we could ask, the
Fine
committee.
with me.
It's fine with me,
She said that Tuesday evening next week would not work, but she is totally flexible days or afternoons or evenings, and we would need to advertise that.
You better get with Russ too, see when he can do it.
Is he in town or not in town?
I've not been able to reach him. I wanted to give him, a heads up too, so I'll get with.
I will say, I guess, the other solution to this would be to find a health insurance plan that would meet the minimum requirements to be offered to those employees that are not in what we call a typically benefited county job, and would mean that they would not be receiving perf and that type of thing, but that would be over the 30 hours per week. You know, I don't know, that's another suggestion, if her budget could sustain that, and I haven't even, I suppose we could ask what would be the requirement of that. Because, and I know Michelle is, in order for, you know, they schedule with the 8-hour shifts, she works 1 week, she works a part-time 24 hours, next week she works from 32, and it balances out to 28. Because there will be a look-back period that will be through the Affordable Care Act for us to look at these employees. It really has, I mean, it has put employers in a bad situation, but it also, in other respects, and I think the idea was to, I know in years past, my mom worked down at the local Sears store, and they would work her 38 and 39 hours a week, rather than let her be a 40-hour employee where they would have to give her benefits. At that time it was profit sharing and insurance and that type of thing. So I see both sides of it, but it's kind of left us in an awkward position. So
It has, and I think, and again, I look at Dr. Hodges, but we're kind of between a rock and a hard place. If we could come up with some sort of a position, like you say, maybe it's an intermediate position where we could offer some additional benefits, but not the entire, for part-time people, and not the entire, but the county, we are in danger of being fined if we violate the terms of the Affordable Care Act. So it's either pay the additional premiums or risk being fined. Either way, you know, it's an expensive proposition. Neither one is an easy way out. But that's why we set up the committee, and I think that's one of the chief things that they intend to deal with, if I'm understanding correctly. And so we'll just plan on setting a meeting one day next week, and I'll get with Russ. If he's available, could I sit in for Russ? Perhaps if he's, you know, not available one day next week. Because again, she needs to prepare her budget. Just like Terry at 911, she has the money in her budget. She has the money. It's not taxpayer money. It's received from the fees from the community corrections users, and of course the grants. But you know, again, to be fair to all the county employees, that's why we want to look at a way. So we'll get with Russ and see if we can
That's
set it
fine.
up.
I'd like to have Russ here because, so find out where he's at when he's going to be back. Okay.
And again, in trying to come up with this ordinance, the salaried ordinance for the year, the questions have come up. Michelle says, you know, if you could just give us a raise in the part-time position, or offer them more money, but still staying within the required hours. So again, that's something that study will help maybe come up with some answers. Were there any other questions about the other grant? Again, some of those same things would apply. Okay, we can move on then to item D, the salaried ordinance. And we were hoping to be able to have the 3 different salaried ordinance ready to approve this evening, but there are several unanswered questions and some additional actions that we want to take to, again, put the incentive provisions in the salaried ordinance when we can come up with that. And Debbie maybe wants to speak to. She spoke with us during the budget hearings that some of the other counties, Wayne County is an example, but lists an Excel spreadsheet type form to replace the 144s used in the salaried ordinance. That gives additional information by department so that we're able to see which employees, what their classifications are, how many hours they work in a little fashion. I said, I think if we can once make the transition,
then it won't be that hard to put together, and then we would have to be then we can drop in the language about the incentive bonus in at the bottom of that. And that would be from year to year, whether you would or wouldn't have any kind of an option like that in that.
And so, because we don't have the answers to those questions, the other question is on the surveyors, 144
Yeah.
form.
Yeah.
That the county engineering portion is lumped in together with the elected
The
official
standard, yeah,
salary.
elected official pay.
And because there will be a new surveyor appointed to fill out the term, we would like to split that up so to give the commissioners, perhaps some different options when it comes to whether or not the new surveyor will also assume the duties of the county engineer. So those are the issues that we need to work on. And so if it's ever okay with everyone, we would like to set up a special meeting 2 weeks from tonight and give us all a target to hit as far as having the rest of the information filled in so we can approve the salaried ordinance. Is everybody available on Tuesday the 17th, 6 o'clock?
Is that the 17th or the 16th?
17th.
Tuesday the 17th.
3 plus 14.
Oh, yeah, right.
3 plus 14, Debbie has already told me that once today. I
I tell you what.
already forgot since this morning. So will that work for everyone?
Yeah.
If that's okay, then we can move on to item E, that's a write-in, the preliminary resolution for tax abatement for Falmouth Farm Supply. Diana?
Falmouth Farm Supply is adding $1,072,640,000 in equipment. And this is just the preliminary resolution to set the final hearing, the final public hearing notice, which will be at your next meeting, which is
January the
January
7th.
7th.
Okay. Before we ask for a motion to approve this public hearing on January the 7th, it has been discussed, and Diana, I think, has indicated it several times, before the council is asked to vote on this next meeting, that perhaps we are in need of a committee to make a recommendation, to review the different requests and what all is contained in it, and make a recommendation to the council before voting on the 7th. And I spoke with Barton. We had a lot of business this morning and this evening, but with the idea that perhaps we could, Barton could ask for an appointee from the commissioners, and we could ask for an appointee from the council, and I would ask Debbie, our resident expert next to Diana, about the different resolutions. I think the first thing Debbie pointed out, the area has to be recognized as an economic revitalization area, but there are other considerations every time someone comes up, and this is the second request that the council has received, Lake Welding being the prior one a little over a year ago. So if we are going to have additional businesses come forward, and we hope that we will, with opportunities to add equipment, improve their operation, that it would be good to have a committee that would be knowledgeable, could make recommendations.
Oh, you're requesting the RN resolution.
So, and Barton was willing for the commissioners, and thought too that that would be beneficial. Otherwise, we're going to be sitting here this time next month, not really having all the facts. So I'm looking for someone to serve on that committee. If any of you have a desire to do so. If not, I guess I could serve on that committee with the commissioner's representative and Debbie, and then we can come back and report to the council on next month's meeting. And with the intent that this would not be a 1-month operation, it would be, you know, for additional requests that Diana might have throughout the year. So, any comments, questions?
Well, I got a question since Dale's here. I think it's pretty self-explanatory what he's doing. He's asking, you know, he's buying a grain receiving leg, a dryer leg, a grain dryer, and he's going to employ one new employee for $35,000 a year plus benefits. I think it's all the information's there. I don't know by the committee what you're going to really find out, other than he's pretty well. He's probably put it all here what he wants and what he's going to do. I don't think there's any benefit to it.
Well,
What's that, to have a public hearing?
No, to
the
form
committee.
the committee to go
Oh, okay.
gather more information. I think it's all pretty much right
He's
here.
got the information already.
Yeah. So that's my.
Well, one of the questions that I would ask right off the top is, how long is the tax abatement and requested for?
Yeah, you have to determine that, the number of years.
Let me just explain a little how we do it in the city. You know, we have several that come through there a year. We have a committee of the mayor, the clerk treasurer, and the president of city council. They get together. We have a scoring matrix that we use that calculates how many jobs, how big their investment is, how long they've been in business. And for each criteria, they get at points, and we have, like, say for 15 points, it's suggested a 5-year abatement. For 25, it's suggested a 10-year abatement. And that committee goes over that, just makes a recommendation to city council. We did one last night for H&E Machine. H&E Machine fell between a 3 and a 5, so they got a 4-year abatement. And that was the recommendation that the committee gave to city council. That's all. A committee is just a recommending body for that. It's not.
So we're not looking at the equipment and what he's
Yeah,
planning.
Yeah, it's just.
I got quite a question. Who follows up on these and makes sure that the person asking for this follows through with what
Well,
the city does?
and that's
Because
the next resolution. Yeah, that's the next resolution that comes along. Each year, they have to file a CF1 form by May the 10th, and we go through and we check to make sure that, and when they do that, when they file their CF1 form, it says, we proposed we were going to have 10 jobs, but we only came up with 9 jobs, and we said we were going to pay $10 million in salary, but we only did 5. You know, that's all lined out on the CF1. And then at the end of the year, my next resolution before you is the tax abatement compliance resolution that says, yes, in this incident, it was a lake, and I always want to say lake appliance, lake innovative, that they were compliant this year. They had as many jobs as they said they were. They added as many jobs. They did put in the equipment.
Okay, so they did file the form and you got it and it was...
Correct, correct. I coordinate that with Jill from Debbie's office, and we go through each thing, you know, make sure everybody's filed their papers.
Okay.
Let me add to Mark's question, what if someone is not in compliance? Is there any kind of...
The council has the option to not give them an abatement for the next year if someone's not in compliance. Of course, the county only controls the abatements that are in the county, and the city does the ones that are in the city.
So you can skip a year and then reinstate the next year if they get back in compliance?
Yes, that has happened.
Correct,
Okay.
yes.
All right.
Okay.
Here's the other thing, the tax abatements are per Indiana code, and Indiana code, I try to keep fairly abreast of the tax abatement statute, but it basically said, and that's what we ran up against when I had Diana's job and did tax abatement. We had big abatements for Vistion every year, and the law states that basically if there's a downturn, if they if they didn't meet their requirements because of something beyond their control, such as the economic development, economic conditions of the area or the country or whatever, and we were kind of at a loss to be able to do anything about that because everybody knew the slump the automotive industry was in, and that Visteon was pretty much a victim of that. So we really didn't have anything. Now I think there are, I think there have been attempts, or there are thoughts about putting something in to kind of make some kind of a clawback feature. You know, if you give an abatement 1 year and they turn around and shut down the next year to get back the difference in, well, first year to get back the tax you granted them abatement for the first year. But we've never taken those steps in order to do that.
Any other questions? Is anyone else interested in serving? If not, I would
If you're
serve
looking
in
for a
that
volunteer,
capacity.
if you want to, you can, otherwise I'll do it if nobody else wants to. It's up to you.
Well, why don't you put me down on that, and then we can talk with Barton for the next meeting so that we can make a recommendation for the next council meeting. Okay. So, having said that, could we have a motion to approve this and set a public hearing for next month's meeting?
I so move.
A second?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. This will be considered on January the 7th of 2014. Thank you. Now, Diana, I think the next one, tax abatement compliance. Along with your others, there's a resolution. A resolution for the purposes of statement of benefits compliance, whereas the Common Council as the designating body has granted tax abatement, and whereas based on the information presented, the property owner has substantially complied with the statement of benefits. Therefore, it be resolved that the Common Council deems the following companies have substantially complied with prior statement of benefits approved by this council. So they have submitted their report, and Diana has reviewed it, and this resolution goes to put on record that they are in compliance. So,
Who's that on, Shirley?
pardon?
Who was that on?
This is Lake Innovative Group. Do you have your copy of it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I got a question on that. He was willing to sell the county his building over there. Is he going to still be over there next year, or has he got his business up for sale or anything?
Was there any,
I don't know if he's selling his,
Okay. I just, there was word going around that he was wanting to sell it to the county for a county garage here a while back. I was just wondering what
He still wants to sell it to the county.
he does. Is he still going to be in business or not?
I know personal things I shouldn't bring up.
Okay.
So I can't
He's asked
really
for
say right now.
tax abatement here, but he's also was brought up that he was wanting to sell his building. So I'd like to have some answers to that one.
did you say that the report was submitted when?
it was submitted back in May. And the CF1 doesn't ask those type of questions. And what you're doing, and you're just saying that he was compliant last year and that he can move forward. It's not, because if the county does not buy it on the real property, the abatement goes with the property. If somebody else comes in and buys Fuzzy's building, the abatement goes with the property, with the building.
What was the abatement on?
The abatement was really on machinery
Machinery.
buying and hiring a new employee. a full-time
Right,
employee.
but prior to that, he also had an abatement
Oh, okay.
on the building.
Did he? Okay.
Yes.
And that one was probably was that one probably for 10 years? Typically,
You know,
real
I
estate's for 10.
forgot we were doing that. I was worried about
You didn't look it up.
Dale's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So in essence, last year he was in compliance, and I guess we would vote again this time next year, whether he was or wasn't, and in case he's not in business, you know, with obligations, you know, it's like small business obligations, you stay in business because you have bills to pay until you can get out of business, and then obviously you go from there. So based on that, could we have a motion to approve this resolution? Anyone interested in making a motion?
One question, Madam President. Diana, you got the report for last year on this?
Yes,
And he was in compliance last year?
correct.
And so this resolution only extends this abatement for another year?
Right, because you're paying your taxes behind, so it's saying that he was allowed that abatement for,
13, pay
yes,
14.
13, pay 14.
Yeah. So if he's not in compliance this year, that'll show up in the next report,
Correct,
next year sometime?
correct.
Okay. Well, we made this deal a long time ago. I don't see how we back out of it now. I'll move to approve this resolution. Debbie, we don't have numbers assigned to these, but I'll move to approve the resolution concerning Lake Innovative.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Mark Melby. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Wait, I
What?
got a question for Deb. The paperwork Dave fills out, can we get a copy of that? I'd like to get a copy of that and see
The CF1,
yeah.
Oh, sure.
So I can just see how you,
yeah, that,
okay,
yeah.
just in my mailbox or whatever. I mean,
Okay.
Okay.
Because Shirley will have to sign that anyway, won't she?
Yes,
That
that,
page, yeah.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, no? Or same sign, aye? Let me try that out again. Do we have any,
We got it.
You got it.
we got it?
You got
Okay.
it.
Resolution approved. Is that all of our new business, Debbie?
Shirley, I've just got one thing I'd like the
Okay.
council to know. We received a word, I don't know if you've been told yet or not, we received a word this month that we did get funding for the transportation center, but also that we were funded for 3 vans at no match for the transportation center for $122,000. Their budget's a little over $400,000 this year. So they'll be hiring some more drivers and we'll have more guys on the road.
That is good news. Good news.
What was the total,
Diane.
what was the grant total amount?
It was about 420,000.
Okay.
And the 3 vans totaled 122,000.
Thank you.
Thank you, Diane. Okay. That was all of the new business. Now we're ready for additional appropriations. The first was the county option income tax, distributive shares for health insurance.
I will speak to that. There was not enough money to pay this year's insurance to cover the December premium, and we would need approximately $40,000 in addition to what we have to finish, and that would be to pay Nippon's premium for December, which we have not yet paid.
And this is an additional appropriation. For $40,000.
Need a motion?
Need a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, aye, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Next, for the covered bridge, this is the commissioner's request.
Well, I say commissioners, but it actually, for lack of who to put it on there, it's usually the commissioners do the budget for the covered bridge. The commissioners were never approached about this, I will say that. I had gotten a call from Sharon Scripture at the Parks Department, and I think I remember, did anybody remember seeing an article in the paper about them doing some work on the foundation for the bridge? And we had $82.16 left in that appropriation. Remember where we did work prior to the bicentennial, repainted the bridge and did some minor repair work on the top side of the bridge. And I've received, the City Parks Department paid the bill and they are wanting reimbursement. Lake Innovative for labor and material was $1,434.12. IMI for gravel was $199.50, and Gilman Home Center for materials were $231.86, for this total of $1,865.48, which would be minus the $82.16 we have in order to reimburse them this amount. You know, the work has been done. That's kind of about, you know now what I know.
So the commissioners were never approached ahead of time?
No, they
is what
were
you're
not
saying.
approached.
So what you're
Nor was
asking?
council.
Pardon?
I said nor was council.
No, right.
What is the chain of command there? Was the city approached for
Well-
approval to make the,
Well, the city paid the bill, so obviously they paid it out of the parks budget. So,
Where are we, they're asking us to pay the whole bill?
well, here's how it works. We get $1,850 a year
Yeah.
into the covered bridge fund, and the county holds the covered bridge money. That's just how it's done. We submit every year, we say how many, we have one covered bridge in Fayette County, we submit that to the state, and the state sends us money into the covered bridge fund. And at the time, I think we had over $10,000 at the time. We did the additional earlier in the year for the paint and contracting for painting the bridge to have it looking nice prior to the bicentennial. There is still, you know, right here, there was the balance as of January 1 was $10,478.42. You know, we currently have, we paid that other bill, we right now have over $7,000. We're gonna, you know, and next year we're gonna get $1,850 in next year. Whether they did or didn't go through the chain of command, my thoughts are, I know the work was done on the covered bridge. We are just the custodians for the money, so.
I'll
When-
make- Go ahead.
When the work was done before the bicentennial, how was that split between city and county? That
No,
was-
it isn't split because the county gets all the money for the covered
We
bridge.
get all the money.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that we go ahead and pay it, but we put a letter out for them to get with the commissioners first next time before they do any work. I think that's fair to the county.
That's a good idea.
I'll second that.
okay, it's been moved and seconded that we approve this, but with the idea that we ask for approval from the commissioners before proceeding. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
You
Motion
seconded
carried.
that.
Mark Form.
I second.
You did. Thank you.
Okay. That takes us down to transfers. And there's two transfer requests, one for the emergency
Well,
first
there's
aid.
actually three.
Okay,
Yeah, there's actually three because,
we've added the one from the commissioners for the health insurance. So, transfer request number one is the emergency first aid unit. They're requesting $25,427.
I'll talk to that too. We just, we just did not have enough money appropriated. We appropriated $270,000 at the beginning of this year. I'm going to transfer $30,000 from another commissioner's line item in order to pay the November expenses that will come due. We're needing money to pay the October expenses. I'm going to move $30,000 in case, you know, I have the money that comes in before the end of the year. But that's just, we don't have enough money appropriated. And we receive the bill once a month. It gives us a detail of what they have spent, and it's 50-50 split with the city. It takes what their expenses were, and it minuses out any revenue that's received for the month, and then that number that remains is divided by 2. We pay half, and the city pays half. We're basically reimbursing the city because they cover the cost up front because they're city employees and work under the auspices of the city. But we just didn't have enough. And the other thing, I think we approved $270,000 this year, so I'm just warning you in advance, there won't be enough money next year. You know, when I spoke to Julie Greason, she said it'll probably be close to, half of it will probably be close to $400,000, you know, next year. And they also need a new ambulance. I have Diana left, but she has put in for, last year she put in for a grant for a new ambulance and has this year again, so she, or just put it in recently, and she's real hopeful.
Is this to replace the one with the red engine?
Yes.
See, they handled that poorly. We shouldn't be buying a new ambulance to replace something that should have been covered under warranty, and they should have pursued that. So now we're paying for somebody's inability to follow up on something as simple as faulty equipment.
Yeah, none of this money paid out this year. They haven't bought a new ambulance yet or done anything with the ambulance. I think they're hopeful that they'll be able to get a grant approved for that. But
And Debbie, correct me. You said this money is needed to pay part of October's bill. Will this $25,000 take us through the end of December?
no,
Is
the
the expectation?
$30,000 that I have to transfer in there will have to take care of it rather than having to do an additional.
Okay,
Yeah,
so
there's a $30,000 transfer that doesn't require council's approval that I can move, you know, from that community development contracts that we actually paid out of the edit funds for this year, but that money was left sitting. It wasn't a reduction in the budget, so we're going to have to use that. You know, we're trying to hold down, you know, to a minimum any additionals we have.
right.
Debbie, earlier in the year, we had discussion about this, and the question was sent over to City Hall, why first aid unit expenses were so unusually high this year compared to other years. Did we ever get an answer from anyone about that?
One part of it, one thing, I don't know whether they added an employee. I know employees received increases. I don't know whether they added an employee or not. I can't really remember. But the other thing was, there for a while, it seemed like some months were proportionally higher than other months. And I remember at the time, I was told that the company that's doing the billing was doing some training of people, additional people to submit claims and such, and that when they were doing that, they weren't doing that with real-time bills, that should catch up that revenue. That's kind of, you know, the only thing that I got up there.
I never did see any real
Do you remember what was
explanation for it.
Yeah.
I didn't know if you had either, but this year their expenses have been unusually high.
Yeah.
Compared to what they have been historically.
Agreed. Okay. What do you gentlemen want to do about this transfer request?
You know, we have you know, we have an agreement with them, so we basically have to pay it, but
Could I have a motion to transfer this $25,427?
I'll move to approve the transfer request form for the emergency first aid unit.
Have a second?
Second.
Second by Mike Winter. It's been moved and seconded that we transfer this request for the first aid unit. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Next up, the cable TV agreement for Channel 3.
and this basically looks like you're putting extra money into it. I don't even know, and I did call the state to get a clarification, do we have to do it as either an additional or transfer or something? We just put a certain amount of money in for the cable TV line. However, we pay out whatever franchise fees that we receive. So we receive franchise fees from Comcast and from Synergy MetroNet. So we are just, again, the county is the conduit for receiving those, and we're just passing those funds. So these additional monies have been received. So we're just having to do a transfer request in order to pay it to City TV, who it's actually their money. So
I'll make a motion.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried.
you can second that.
Jim moved it, well, he made the motion, I seconded it.
Okay, that brings us down to item C. It's a write-in. The commissioner's request that Martin was referring to earlier
For the insurance,
for the county insurance to pay the first month's
make a
premium.
motion to approve that transfer.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Item number 9, the salaried 144s.
That was a carryover
That
from
was a
last night's
carryover.
meeting and shouldn't have been.
Okay. We're down to number 10, patron concerns.
We have a patron left. Give us your concerns.
I'll make a motion, we adjourn, since our only patrons don't have no concerns.
I'll second it.
It's been moved and seconded. We adjourn, all in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried.